I love Alex's beard scratch thing.
All right, so this is going to be a short episode, everyone. Hello and welcome to Off Track with Rossi. It's going to be short because we're having software issues. James is late, and we are just we're just trying to get through this thing as fast as we can. So we at one point are going to have new software that's going to capture better audio, better video, and we're going to have full episodes on YouTube. I played racquetball this morning, and I almost beat Bobby, but I didn't quite get there. What's disappointing about that is the fact that Bobby lost to a 64-year-old man, which means that even though I'm close to beating Bobby, I'm still really far away from an old man. Then we had Barber last weekend, and a lady fell from the bridge. That's basically what we recorded so far on the other thing that you're never going to see. So I just want to catch you all up.
Yeah, if you can't tell, this is our third time doing this today.
Fourth.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we've covered those top three topics. This is now fourth time. Thank you for that speed round, Alex. That was surprisingly efficient.
Well, exactly, because I want to give the listeners all the information. I'm also having construction at my house because I have to replace the floors upstairs because an incident happened. But anyways, let's talk about Barber and the mannequin that fell.
So the mannequin fell. Her name's Georgina, and I really think she should come to Indy. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Tim wanted to have a moment of silence for a mannequin, which I don't really think makes a lot of sense considering it was already dead.
Yeah, it's not appropriate. Well, it's never alive.
Right.
Yeah, its state of life has not changed. So I'm not sure why a moment of silence. If anything, we should be celebrating that the poor thing's not hanging on for dear life, blowing in the wind, hanging off the bottom of a bridge anymore.
Do you know what I found interesting is that they change her outfit like fairly frequently. So I want to know who has that job because I'm sure it's, well, I don't know, but I'm sure it's just
how many years of experience do you think they needed?
Yeah. They're getting resumes for that job. What were the key traits they were looking for?
Well, if it had to do with undressing, then Tim certainly wasn't qualified.
Do you think it mentioned fast-paced environment?
No.
Because it's a racetrack.
I get that.
Because
it's just
the
funny
cars
that
go fast.
So she's been up there for a long time, right? She's been up there, I think, for as long as the track's been around. And do you think they have to take her down to change her outfit, or are they just like?
Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah. How else would you?
I guess because you're not going to get.
Which is why I think I think she fell because she probably
recently had a wardrobe change,
and maybe it was a new person hanging her.
It's just so funny. It's just so funny to think that, like, of all the times in the 20 years that she's been hanging up there, she falls not just on IndyCar weekend, not just on Sunday, but during the actual green flag running of the race. It was hilarious. Now we managed to stay green, which I was kind of surprised. Like, you were out at that point, right? You had already had your issues.
Well, what's interesting is I was out and changed, but then I was told to get back in. So I don't really know at what point she fell, but I didn't see it.
So, but did you see her on the side of the track?
I honestly wasn't paying much attention to really anything when I went back out there.
I didn't even, honestly, man, I don't think I even know you went back out.
Oh, yeah. Because we wanted to make sure that we beat Pietro.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. What a race, guys. What a race.
Was it?
I mean, not for you. What? So, like, well, actually, yeah, I've got some questions. So we'll get to the race as a whole, but like, I want to ask you. It seemed like, here. Why don't you go through your weekend up to the green flag?
Pretty terrible. It's not often that a racing driver will look at another racing driver and admit that what they witnessed is fairly unachievable. And I think what Pato did in qualifying, I've only seen really once before, and it was him at Nashville last year, where he just put a car on his back and just made it happen. And it was very, very impressive because I got to be honest with you guys, we were absolutely nowhere. Kind of from lap one, session one, which came as a surprise considering the
test went so well.
The test and the balance and the performance we had 3 weeks prior. But we don't have the answer. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. Certainly from Long Beach the issues we had in Long Beach carried over to Barber, which is the confusing part, because we kind of figured Long Beach might be an outlier, kind of as I talked about on the last episode. Sorry, guys, about the banging, is because, we have a harder tire now because of the hybrid that was supposed to be here at this point. It was a cold weekend, concrete track. We just figured we're not getting the tire to work. And we figured those issues would kind of go away in Barber, and they didn't. So that is kind of the crux of our issues. And we need to figure it out quite swiftly because a lot of racing coming up.
Expeditiously. Okay. So qualifying did not go as planned, but then how was like your first stint? Because it seemed like you were not moving forwards as much as you were hoping.
No, it's a weird race. You don't really know. It's one of those few races that you don't know what the right strategy is going to be until you get into it. And our goal was to kind of just do the opposite of what the majority was doing. Because as you know, you don't want to be the 14th car on a strategy. You want to be, a top 5 car on the alternate strategy.
Right.
And so we started on the prime tire to keep our options open in terms of what we wanted to do. And so we started out.
So you were aiming for a 2-stopper?
We were aiming for a 2-stop initially on the harder tire. And so I was more than happy to let guys that were clearly not on a 2-stop on a softer tire kind of go.
Right.
And we knew that even if we lost track position and had to bail to a 3-stop, we were so far back that even if we gave up some spots, it would actually be better for the 3-stop because you come out further behind the last place car. So you, in theory, have more clear track. If we were starting 24th, it would have been an easy 3-stop from the beginning, because then you would, pit early and know that, you're so far off the back of the field at that point. But from 16th, we were like, man, if we commit to a 3-stop, we're going to be catching P26 pretty quick with the short time loss. So anyways, we switched to a 3, and I had 20 laps of clean air. And
that was fun.
It was great. And we gained almost 30 seconds, which covered the time loss that we had for the 3-stop. And so the people that I was racing, motorsports is woulda, coulda, shoulda, but the people I was racing kind of finished 6th, 7th, 8th type of thing. So I think we had a top 10 day. And we made a good adjustment to bail on the 2-stop early. And obviously the 3-stop was the way to go. So that was kind of our day until in the 2nd stop, a left rear tire decided to come off. So yeah,
it sure did. It sure did.
Yeah.
I was
obviously wanted to party.
But yeah, it just was done. It was just dizzy.
Yeah.
I did feel obviously very bad for you. That said, I was very happy it didn't happen in pretty much any other corner, because it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
You were going nice and slow, and if that thing popped off heading into 12, that would have sucked a lot more.
But speaking of that, like, there was some, Pietro obviously got turned around in turn 12. Stingray had a steering wheel failure in turn 1. And like, you would, on paper, you'd think, man, those are going to be monumental shunts. And they actually were both very benign. So I think it's like Barber does something right with the runoff and the gravel and the way it works. Cause like, those were the highest speed corners that you can kind of lose it in IndyCar. And both crashes were very, very mild. So I think that was pretty surprising and cool.
Yeah, man, there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Stingray's deal, terrible. And Pietro actually had something not exactly the same, but similar in practice, where the steering column just kind of came out. And so the steering wheel was popped back in his hands, and he couldn't steer. It was also very much over it and decided to peace out. But man, again, you haven't watched the race back, I'm assuming, right? There was so much wheel banging in this race. I have not seen anything like it in a very, very long time.
Yeah, it was a lot. So what do you think the reason is for that?
People giving fewer about penalties and like, here's the thing. There were a couple penalties that were assessed, but all of them were very clear, right? Like Renus turn one, lap one, just ran into the back of Stingray actually, and caused a bit of a mess, just misjudged it, whatever, but avoidable contact, drive through, fine. Pato, kind of tried to pull a very ambitious move on Pietro, didn't work. Pietro's off on the wall out of the race, drive through, fine, avoidable contact. And I want to say there was at least another one, but there were guys pitching it off at 1 bunch, at 5 a bunch, over the hill in 7-8 a bunch. It was nuts. And then into 16, everybody's trying to do that, like, the Joseph Newgard move. And like when it didn't work, just bunches side to side. And so many guys hit so many other guys. And what was interesting is like, it very much looked like a Formula One race, not with the contact, but just with, once you were side by side with someone, you just drove them off the track. And you see that in F1 all the time. That's just kind of the accepted standard over there, mostly because all of their tracks have pavement outside of the white line. So you can kind of get away with it without too much penalty. But I've always thought it's kind of a stupid way to go. Right. Like, I don't love that's like the driving standard over there. And it's just sort of accepted. And it's not really been the case over here to the same extent. But man, yesterday was not to the same extent. I know it's not great.
I don't know. Like, it's developed, and we've actually brought this up quite a bit in the off-season drivers meetings. And it's like, man, I'm honestly, I'm not opposed to it. Like, if you're on the outside, you are taking
for sure.
It should be a higher risk maneuver than going on the inside, right? So like, should you hit someone? No, but like opening your hands, like, man, I don't know. It's you're choosing to sit out there. And so you're kind of at the mercy of the guy on the inside. Like,
so you're as long as your nose is in front, you can dictate where you want your car to go.
I don't see a problem with it. Because also, how are you going to police that? Are you going to say, you have to like leave enough room that they don't drop a wheel? So then you're going to have guys on the outside intentionally dropping wheels. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's becoming. Well, I say it's becoming. This weekend, it was far more prevalent than what I've known in any one event. Like, it was everywhere. Everybody was doing everybody.
I mean, from the outside perspective, it was a fun one to watch.
Dude, it's kind of awesome from our seat watching at home, because you almost get a little bit of that elbows out, stock car-y kind of feel, but because these cars are so robust, things aren't just breaking off them left, right, and center like it would in an F1 car or whatever. So yeah, I think it was pretty good. Another good race, like you said, it was kind of the 2-stop or 3-stop. The way the yellows fell and everything, it was very clearly a 3-stop race. And the 3-stoppers swept the podium. So it's 2 years in a row that Scotty Mac won. Scotty Mac did it on a 3-stop strategy. So it definitely, it's weird, man, because that race has never run caution free. And where the cautions fall very much control the 2 versus 3. Because I feel like if you're starting on the front row, you got to think that a 2-stop at an all green race is going to be faster, right? Is that
no? A 3-stop is definitely faster. The thing is, if there's certain yellows, right, it makes the 2-stop exponentially easier. But I think,
so like an early yellow, like a lap 1 yellow that lasts 4 or 5 laps,
which we
immediately changes it.
So I'm really surprised, actually. Then that's why we kept on the 2-stop, is because it's like, man, this yellow is good. And I don't really know. I haven't had a debrief yet. That's coming up in about an hour. But like, I don't know why it didn't switch. Like, I was expecting it to switch to it too.
It was going to. And then the last caution for, I don't remember who. Actually, may have been for when Stingray's car just quit. No, Stingray hit the wall. Somebody just stopped on the side of the track. I forget. Either way, there was a caution that was too far away from the finish to really do it. But a lot of the 2-stoppers just took it. So like a previous caution had sort of erased the advantage of the 3-stoppers, and it looked like Palou was kind of sitting pretty. But then a bunch of guys came in on like lap 55, 56, and had to do a very long final stint, I think hoping there was going to be more yellow, and there just wasn't. So the three stoppers were able to stay out, open up that gap, and like McLaren pitted and came out in the lead. It's something like he came out with 10 seconds he had to make up and pass, and he could use the fuel and tires. He just was ahead. So all the two stoppers just started falling back.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why it's so close, right, is because Barber is such a short pit lane, so the time loss is small. It's not a small fuel number to get a two stop. Like it's a pretty decent saving. So if you do have the yellows in the right spot, it's very easy not easy, but it's very doable for the three stoppers to actually build a big enough gap that they can pit and still come out ahead of the two stoppers, which then means everyone still has
then you're just even.
Exactly.
Right.
So
except the three stoppers have a fuel advantage and track position.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's cool. I do like when we have those races. It makes it exciting.
It's nice when there's two options, right? It's always tough when everyone just defaults to the same thing and there's not really a way to mix it up.
And the tires play a big part in that too, right? Like it's always nice to have one set that digs aggressively, and it's nice if there's a big delta between the two. And we've talked about this a bunch, right? But like for you, what were the reds like compared to the blacks from like a lap time standpoint?
Oh man, seconds quicker.
Really?
Like, well, I would say over a second. I'd say 1 to 1.2 seconds quicker. Like crazy.
So how does that work? Because I know we've talked about the tires were made this year to be stronger because the hybrid was going to add extra weight. So did they take that into account and correct it for this weekend, or is that just how it happens to play?
It's just that the alternate now is last year's prime. So that tire had virtually no deg. And it was always an alternate race, even with a softer alternate. So it just compounds that. We're going to have the same thing at the Indy GP. That was always been an alternate race, even with alternate deg, because just the pace offset is so much more. Even though you deg more, your stint time is less. Now the alternate's the prime. Like no one wants to touch the prime anymore. Like it's a very bad tire. Again, not a fault of Firestone. They did the job that they were supposed to do to build a more robust tire for a heavier car with more power and all this stuff. But like for what we have right now, it's just terrible.
But again, selfishly, that's great for us, because if there's one tire that's just awful in terms of, again, not a fault of Firestone, just in terms of performance and whatever, but everybody's still got to use it once, I think it's great for us. It sucks that you guys have to be punished for a stint, but good race.
No, I mean, it's fine. It just, it also makes the decision, like, I don't want to give too much away, but I think, in years past, you were more comfortable to start on a prime and be like, yeah, I can probably hold my own for the first lap or two as temps come up, and I'll burn some more fuel before green to make sure that I've got the temp and the grip and everything. This year, like you gotta think about it a little more, because you're much more exposed at the start if you're going up against an alternate than you were previously. So, I mean, everyone has to take the pill at some point.
It's shocking to me because every time I feel like I've gotten this figured out and I know how racing works, this stuff comes up and it's like, oh yeah,
we don't have it figured out either.
They've got 30 engineers and software simulation programs and yada yada yada, and still it's a little bit of a throwing things at a wall and see what sticks. Unrelated, I look sick. I look sickly,
like ill, like sickly. Physically ill.
Yeah, I look pale, and maybe it's because I'm wearing beige and gray. But you guys both look.
It's kind of how you always look.
I thought I looked.
He looks particularly bad today.
I look grayer than normal. I'm normally very pale and white, but
which is making me determine that this is going to be our first one that I'll put up as a full episode video.
That sounds fair. After all that, it's going to be terrible quality, but we're just going to do it so you can all see how bad I look today.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously that was the race. Congrats, Scott. Congrats, Will. Congrats, Linus. First podium for Mr. Lundqvist, which is pretty cool. He's shown a ton of promise and did a great job on the three stopper and kept his wits about him and had a great job.
And then there's a weekend off.
Well, hang on. Before we get to that, I think we have to still address the underlying off-track situation that was prominent through the whole Barber weekend and big topic of discussion and debate. We obviously touched on it before Barber. Having now gone through the weekend, everybody got the opportunity to hear from the team, from the drivers involved and also not involved, and kind of get some thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Alex, did anything that happened or anything that was said over the weekend change your opinion on the whole penalty deal with Penske at St. Pete, or how do you leave St. Pete feeling about it? Or Barber, sorry.
Tired of talking about it, honestly.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
I think everyone
says can have the guy who brought it up. I completely forgot about it.
My opinion hasn't changed, but I also don't care anymore. I think Joseph being made out to be some villain by the internet is stupid. I think that, I was a little surprised, I will say, at how much, whether he volunteered or he was told or the team just didn't, I was surprised at the responsibility scale. Joseph seemed to take all of the responsibility, and Penske, the team, took very little, which I don't think is necessarily correct. Yes, Joseph pushed the button, but yes, he had the ability to do it because the team, he didn't put that in himself. So right. I think that's a 50-50, we screwed up sort of situation. But I don't think anyone's a villain. I don't think anyone is a bad person. And we can all move on because it's boring now. It's just not that interesting. So,
well, then let's my thoughts on it. I have an important question. Not about that, just if we're going to move on. So when we talk about the weight and stuff of the car, Alex, how much of an advantage was it to lose the weight of one of those tires, or was there a downside to having 3 tires?
See, the joke would have been funny when we were talking about Alex's race.
I know, and I forgot about it, and I'm tired.
Late. Yeah,
you guys picked 6:30 a.m. to record.
I
was up at 6:30 my time, so
I had quite 5:15. I had quite a bit of rotation, which was sometimes hard to get in turn 2. But
yeah, true.
Yeah.
But yeah, still a bit of a downside. The lower ride height in the rear was slowing your straight line speed. I think that was probably the biggest loss.
A little bit of lack of forward drive as well.
Yeah. Okay, what were you saying, Tim? Weekend off?
Yeah, got some time before Indy GP, and it's May.
It is May. That is exciting. Alex, you don't have a weekend off. You're working or you're doing something this weekend. I've got something this weekend. But let's talk about your deal because it's fun.
Yeah. So I don't know if we really talked about it last week, but I've shared on the old socials. I was approached by our good pal, Joey Molinaro, to be involved in what's called a stake in stardom. And essentially what that is it's getting people involved in horse racing that are not usually involved in horse racing from different areas of different sports. And they get paired with a horse, and that kind of becomes their horse for the year. And you share in some potential earnings of that racehorse. And you get to kind of cheer it on and go to some events that it participates in and just kind of be a part of the horse's year, and kind of share your experience of that and document it kind of as you go. So super cool opportunity because I love horses. I grew up with horses. My mom had horses when I was a kid. And so I've always had kind of a soft spot in my heart for them. I don't really know much about horse racing, but I know a lot about barrel racing and that kind of side of it. So yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting and exciting for me. So this weekend I'm going to the Derby, and yeah, I'm just happy to be involved and included. And
James, do you feel jealous that he's going back to the Derby without you?
Yeah, kinda. I would love to go to the Derby again.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm not going to the Derby itself. I'm going to Oaks Day, which is the Friday. So I'm not completely cheating on you.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Are you going to wear the same outfit that we bought for our Derby extravaganza back in 2016?
I'm going to wear parts of it.
All right. All right.
But, Oaks Day at Churchill Downs is all pink. So everyone's in pink. So
okay. I think didn't one of us wear pink pants?
You wore pink pants. But I'm going
pink pants?
Pink jacket, white pants.
Copy. It's a good look.
So yeah.
Good look.
I think
Very
so.
Miami. Yeah. So that's Pink Day. Okay. So what's your horse's name?
I would love to be able to tell you that. This is kind of a last minute situation. So I don't know.
That's sorry, man. I was not trying to set you up on that one. No. I assumed you might know the name of the horse that you have.
Honestly,
which feels like a fair assumption because it's honestly, they all have pretty unique names.
Yeah, on the Tuesday before, I assume that too. But here we are.
Haven't you already watched it race? Didn't you guys go down to Kentucky?
Met its like bloodline. Didn't meet it.
Oh, it's okay. So you haven't met him or her yet.
I have not.
Is it a male or a female? Do we know?
It's a horse.
One of those two. Got it. Okay. Big horse guy. Horse guy. Big Churchill Downs guy here. Alex Rossi. Wow. Okay. Just so we're clear, you remember your dog's names, right? I just want to make sure that you're not like going to get you tested and the head's okay. Yes. Okay.
Benjamin Rossi and Diane Keaton.
And the P stands for parties. Yeah.
Right. Of course.
Good. Well, have fun. So is it like that you can't stay for the main race on Saturday? Or is it Saturday or Sunday that the main race is on?
The main race is Saturday, and I'm a big Rev guy now.
Of course, it's Rev. Oh, man, I'm so bummed I'm missing Rev.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Because you're a big F1 guy now.
I'm a big F1 guy.
It's weird how we've switched roles. You used to be a big Rev guy, and I used to be a big F1 guy, and now we're the opposite.
And I used to have hope, just in general.
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
And dreamed.
Yeah, but nothing matters. No one cares. So, all right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm doing my first F1 weekend of the year in Miami this weekend. So we'll be sadly out and Oaks Day. But I'll still, you know what? I'll wear something pink on Friday just for you, bud, just to help support insert team here.
What a guy.
I will wear that on the broadcast. It's one of the things that's different about like working F1 races versus IndyCar races, like F1 TV versus NBC's. At NBC, you kind of have like the uniform, right? Like we have NBC clothing for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then obviously Sunday we've got to be suited up. But in F1, you just wear clothes, whatever you want to wear. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I kind of like having a uniform because it takes all thought out of packing. That's the best part.
That is something that whenever like we're going to a race weekend and Kelly has to pack, it takes her she's a woman, so whatever. But she also has to think about it. Let's just use the example of when I go on vacation. It's much slower than when I go to a race.
Yes.
Because it's two pants,
team polos, boom.
Yeah, boom. See ya.
Yeah. And seal.
That's why I used to always just wear the same outfit every day.
Yeah, except
whatever happened to that?
I don't know. People stopped going out in 2020 and I just stopped going on trips and I fell out of the habit.
Let's also not try to encourage him to go back to that, Alex.
Why? I thought it was easy.
Kind of his thing.
It was very easy to pack for things.
Now he doesn't have a thing other than terrible hair.
But here's the thing. I feel like if you're going to have a thing, it needs to be more of a thing, right? Like Slash has a thing, a cool hat. Or
Tim's thing was khakis and a black button down.
Yeah, but a lot of people wear khakis and a black button down. It's just every day.
Not like that. Because he did the different undershirts too that had meaning.
Meaning's that's a relative term. That's a stretch. But Tim, you should have a thing, but it should be a little more identifiable. Like those glasses that you currently like wearing. You should just wear them all the time.
I do like that. I will. I'm going to until they break.
Those are bad. I don't think we ever
so bad.
We never touched on because there was a lot to talk about after Long Beach, obviously, but like how fortuitous of Tim was it to talk to me about push to pass going into Long Beach, and then everything that came out after the fact. Pretty hilarious. Pretty funny.
And it is. Yeah. I mean, every time I'm at a race with you, I give you some level of dumb advice, right? And I don't think I've repeated. If I have, I've rectified it, quickly. And I just thought I was out of to say. So now I feel like I have to be careful before the next one, just because it might preview what's to come.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing should be about fuel capacity / safety.
And it's back. Actually, there's one other thing that happened, and it's a bummer, but it would be remiss to not mention it. Alex, the team announced that Little Dave Malucas will not be continuing with McLaren moving forward.
Yeah. There's nothing to say, man. Like, we've talked about it. It's a terrible position for David. I feel horrible for him because that can happen to any of us. James, you know very well how easy it is to happen. I feel terrible for the team because this is not what they wanted. I feel bad for the partners because this is not what they were sold on. Like, no one is happy about the situation. And it's just, it's really sad because it wasn't, you can't even blame the kid. Like, he wasn't doing anything stupid. He was actually just on a mountain bike ride, training with his dad. Like, he wasn't dicking around with friends. Like, it's sad. It's just sad. I feel bad for him.
And the hope is that, he goes through whatever, the rest of the recovery is and kind of revamps for 2025. I mean, he's still young. He's still, a desired property, and provided rehab all goes the way that he wants it to, he'll be able to come back and put himself, in position to be in a car in 25, maybe even later in 24, who knows? Yeah. But bummer deal. I assume, nobody knows yet who's going to be in the 6 moving forward. I assume Teo's going to be in for GP, but I don't know. And you don't have to say anything if you don't know, I don't know. It's been announced.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know the same that everyone does. Obviously Callum and Teo are their fill-ins so far. So
it's funny though.
I've heard Dixon's coin deal fell through. Maybe he's going to McLaren.
You bring up an interesting point that kind of just got me thinking. Obviously we see why it's a bummer for David, and we see why it's a bummer for the team, and nobody wanted to be in this position. But you just said something that makes so much sense. It's a bummer for the partners, because imagine what the partners involved in that particular car have gone through over the last 8 months, right? It was, you had Felix in the car, but then Pelot was supposed to be in that car. Yes. And then we had to call those guys and be like, hey, so Pelot's not coming, but don't worry. Right. We got this great young guy. He's just 2 years with coins. Great. And then, okay, fine. And then he doesn't even start the season. Oh yeah. Sorry. He got hurt, but it's okay. He's gonna be fine. We're going to put in this other guy that, is also good. And then he could only do one race, and then we had to go to someone else. Like, man, that's a great point. I never even thought about it that way.
Because for them, so much of what they do, right, is building on momentum of the season with their activations and their B2B stuff and everything that they're doing to justify the spend that they have, and they can't do that. And it's just terrible luck. Like, it's just a bad situation.
Not to add more on this pity party, but there's 2 other people I feel bad for. The admins of the social media account at McLaren that now have a lot of social media stuff that they aren't going to be able to use. And Alex, who's going to have to redo that social media stuff.
I almost promise you they're not going to make him do it again. There's no way. There's no way. But you stole that from IndyCar memes.
Whether they do or not, I ain't doing it. Because
I didn't wait. Did I steal? I didn't mean to steal that from IndyCar memes.
Yeah, he posted something about the McLaren social admins, and it's just some guy yelling. No.
That's pretty funny. I also found out somebody called me out on it. I accidentally stole another joke. The Chernobyl survivors counting however many flaws on one hand. Somebody sent me a screenshot of that as a tweet, and I'm sure I accidentally stole it. I did not do it on purpose, but I'm sure I saw it. So.
You read so many of those like tweets now on whether it's Twitter or Instagram.
We steal your jokes.
All the time.
Yeah, you guys do it knowingly and have been doing it for years
and unapologetically, and I'm going to stand by that. I'm going to stand by that.
Stopping.
Alex, I know you might have to go.
See you guys. I can't wait to talk to you next week about what horse I have.
I can't wait to learn his name.
Maybe get the name. Yeah, maybe learn the name of the thing that you're on.
Let's start with that.
The gender,
yeah,
name, maybe age. Just a couple important facts.
Are we sure it's a horse? Are you sure?
Maybe I'm into dog racing. I don't know. Like greyhound. Who knows?
It's a donkey.
Yeah, turtles. Here, that's popular in LA. Anyways, guys, see y'all later. Take care.
Well, Tim, I also have to go, but that's fine. I'll stay and listen to your story.
All right. It'll be a quick story. So Saturday, I had to drive Hazel around to a lot of places. She had a robotics tournament, and then she had her opera rehearsal, and then I volunteered to give one of her friends a ride back to their place. So we left the house at about 7 in the morning, and then about 6 p.m., I dropped her friend off, and I get back in the car and I turn the key and it just doesn't start.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is odd because I've been driving all day. So if the alternator works, like my battery should be fine. I don't know what's going on.
It's also odd that you have a car with a key.
Yeah, I have a proper key. It didn't start. Okay. So I go to get my automatic battery jumper thing that I have in the car. I've let it drain fully, so it didn't work. So I talked to Hazel's friend's dad, who's a very good friend of mine. He comes out to give me a jump. It doesn't work. He's like, well, you probably just need a new battery. I'm like, yeah, but my car's like 3-4 years old. That's a short shelf life.
And it's been running all day. Yeah.
Yeah. I realized that I can still put the windows down, which only works for me if the key is in or if I've just taken the key out but not opened the door yet.
Okay.
So I figured out, okay, this is a computer issue. This is something in, the internal computer of the car is registered that the key is still in.
You weren't in park.
No.
No.
So I at this point I have like a Ford tow truck on the way, but it's not coming for an hour. So I'm like, I need to figure out how to fix this before the tow truck gets here because I don't want to pay for whatever this is going to be. So I'm talking to him and it's like, okay, we need to figure out a way to reboot the computer. Well, he's like, well, we could Google how to do a hard reboot of the internal computer process of a Ford Bronco. And we're going through it. And I was like, can we just disconnect the battery?
Yeah.
And so we open it up and he's looking up like the YouTube videos of how to remove the battery. It's like, we don't need to remove the whole battery. We just need to take a single node off.
Yeah.
So we get in there, take the node off. Long story short,
Count to 10.
It totally works. Completely works. And we go back in. We're like, yeah, we did it. And then we explained to his wife, and she's like, so you
turned it off and turned it back on again.
You took a single screw off. It's like, well, yeah. Well, I mean, when you put it that way, yeah.
It's figuring out. It's literally, sir, have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in? Apparently that works for cars now.
So accomplished. And then all the wind taken out of my sail. And she was like, so it's like a single, you just took a single nut off. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but we didn't lose the nut.
But that's like getting out of an escape room and being like, oh, so you opened the door and left? It's like, well, yeah, but to be able to open the door to get to that point was actually really hard.
I felt very accomplished.
No, you should. I had to replace like the wheel on the track of the upper rack of our dishwasher a couple months ago. And it was not as straightforward as you thought it was. And I was way too proud of myself when I had like figured out how to do it. And it did take a Google video or a YouTube video. I'm not going to lie. And yeah, I did the self accomplishment, that feeling that I had was pathetic. It was pretty sad given the task I'd actually accomplished. It had frustrated me for some time. And so once you actually figure it out, it's like, yes.
Yeah, you feel like you could take on anything.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Not anything.
Have fun in Miami.
I will. I'm gonna wear pink for Alex, and again, I'm gonna give his horse a name until we know it. It's like horses have names like, like.
But do you know why they're all so weird?
Well, yeah, they have like their normal, like everyday names, and then they have their race names. So no, why are the race names weird?
You can't reuse any name. So any horse that's been used in competition in those leagues, if that name is, it's done. So that's why you have to have all these like.
It's going to be a problem in about 200 years.
We're getting to the point where it's a problem already.
Right.
Like they're already pretty stupid.
So okay, so let's go with let's assume the horse's real name is like George, but its race name will be. I
Santino.
feel like if it's a horse, if it's a horse of Alex's, it's got a lot of heart, It's
okay. All right.
And it's got legs, 4 of them, with hoofs on the end.
Then again, if it's Alex's, maybe it has 3 legs.
Maybe it's just got the 3. The left rear is missing. Either way, it's got hoofs and it's got a lot of heart. So I think we should call it hoof-hearted.
Hoof-hearted? That's pretty solid. I wonder if there's that's gotta have been done.
It's gotta be done.
But
either way, we're gonna wish Hoof-Hearted the best in the Not Kentucky Derby. And
there's a horse called Hoof-Hearted.
Yep, that makes sense. Can we just name him Hoof-Hearted?
There's also a horse called Hoof-Hearted is a 1981 mare. So you are way behind on this joke.
I do that joke. I stole that.
3 years.
I heard that from my dad when I was like 6. Like I knew that was not original. But keeping up with the theme of what we do, we steal jokes. All right, I got to run, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if this is going to go on YouTube or not. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't.
I'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, you're welcome. We're on YouTube now, so make sure you subscribe and follow us on YouTube. Like things, comment, all that good stuff.
We should definitely thank Sirius for being accommodating on.
And we're going to thank Sirius and Chris and everybody involved in getting us to this point.
Everybody, yeah,
all the people, all the things. Because again, you guys foolishly asked for this, and now you're getting it. So joke's on you. But
make sure, if you're really excited, you're going to watch on YouTube. Still listen. We still need those podcast downloads.
Definitely do that. Definitely don't not
just
listen.
Do both. You don't have to actually listen. Just put it on and walk away from your device. It's fine.
Say that. I
don't think anybody who's listening on the watch is actually doing it. I still don't believe that's a thing.